Welcome, everyone. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for being part of our community. A few disclosures and reminders before we start with today's webinar. If you have issues viewing the stream at any time during the presentation and are using the web browser of Teams, please refresh your browser. If you are using the desktop app of Teams, please exit and rejoin. Please note that this webinar is being recorded and will be shared publicly. The recording will be posted after the webinar on our YouTube page at aka.ms/securitycommunityvideos. Closed captions in several languages are available during the live broadcast. You can enable them by clicking the CC button located at the lower right corner of your screen. All the announced links will be shared with you shortly on the live event Q&A window. To engage with us during the webinar, you can do so by asking questions or providing feedback at any time by typing them in the live event Q&A window using Ask a Question button. Beware that any questions you post will be publicly visible. However, if you prefer, you can post your question anonymously by checking the box right below where you enter it. If we have time toward the end of the call, we will verbalize some of your questions to our speakers. The best way to ensure you don't miss any future webinars or major announcements is to join the security community by visiting aka.ms/securitycommunity and sign up for the mailing list. For deeper conversations on how you can influence our product designs and get early access to changes through private previews and learn about our product roadmaps, you can join our private program at aka.ms/join-community. We believe the best way to improve our products is by removing any barriers between you and the people that create them, so we hope you'll join us. And now onto the topic. In today's session, we will cover Microsoft Sentinel. Accelerate your SIEM migration to Microsoft Sentinel. Yossi, Sarah, and Margaret will be providing a comprehensive overview on the topic. And without further ado, I'll pass the mic over to Margaret.
Thanks. So good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you're joining us. And we'll go straight to today's agenda. Today we'll look at SIEM migration challenges, and then we'll go through the AI-powered Microsoft Sentinel migration experience, look at its features and capabilities. Then we'll have a demo of the solution. And then we'll go through the Microsoft Cloud Accelerate program. And Sarah will take us through how this can accelerate your migrations. And finally, at the end, we'll have a Q&A session where you can raise some questions and we'll respond to them. Let's start with the SIEM migration challenges. Why are SIEM migrations very complex? Migrating from one SIEM to another is a complex project that involves multiple phases. The SIEM migration project progresses through several phases, and each phase takes several weeks to complete. This could lead to delays, and any delays that are in each of the phases would lead to prolonging the SIEM migration project. There is high friction, which is usually because of the involvement of different teams, because of involvement and collaboration among different teams, and this involves approvals using different tools and getting approvals for each different phase. Overall, the goal is to simplify and expedite this entire SIEM migration process and automate as much as possible. So let's drill down into each challenge and look at how the migration tool can simplify these challenges. So in the first challenge, we have a complex multiple-phased project. This involves planning and discovering. In this stage, you want to identify the use cases from your original SIEM. Then you need to go to the data phase, which is where you identify your data sources and how they map into the Microsoft Sentinel data connectors. After this, you need to identify, or rather you need to map your SIEM source detections into the Microsoft Sentinel KQL-based detections. Then you need to transition your existing workflows into Microsoft Sentinel workflows. Then you need to enable and empower your SOC team to use Microsoft Sentinel. And finally, you need to validate and sign off the use cases. Through this journey, all the different phases take different time. we've realized that the first three phases, that is the planning and the discovery, mapping of the data sources, and mapping of the detections, each phase takes up to 4 weeks. And in total, this drastically increases the migration project timelines. So this leads to a situation where most customers end up running 2 different SIEMs, that is your source SIEM and the Microsoft Sentinel SIEM, in parallel for extended periods to avoid any gaps. And this, of course, increases the overall cost. Finally, the last challenge is that the migration project requires a lot of manual effort and the collaboration between different parties, which brings friction. There's a lot of cross-team dependencies. You have to work with the data owners, you have to work with SOC engineers, you have to work with the detection teams, the architects, and then all these different teams have to go through manual handoffs of the phases and agree on what is to be done and sign off. They could be environmental blockers, for example, access to different applications, onboarding prerequisites, permission setups, and also include the fact that the different teams are under pressure to validate and sign off the different use cases. So how do we migrate to Microsoft Sentinel in the easy way? Let's look at the SIEM migration experience. First, let's step back and understand SOC optimization, because the SIEM migration experience is part of the SOC optimization feature within Microsoft Sentinel. SOC optimization, the SOC optimization capability continuously analyzes your Microsoft Sentinel deployment and delivers recommendations that will enhance your SOC operations. There are different types of recommendations that are provided within the SOC optimization page. The first is the data value recommendation. The data value recommendation provides recommendations on how to optimize your data within Microsoft Sentinel. This could be optimizing your ingestion to a cheaper tier if you don't use that data for any detections, or we could give recommendations to recommend detections to use for the data that you're already ingesting. Then we have the coverage-based recommendations. This gives you two types of recommendation. Threat-based recommendations, which give recommendations of detections you can enable to address coverage gaps against attacks and any vulnerabilities. Then we have the risk-based recommendations, which recommend detections that you can enable to address gaps within risks like financial risks, business risks, or operational risks. We then have the similar customers recommendations. These recommendations I'll give you recommendations for data sources to enable based on customers or organizations that are similar to yourselves. Finally, we have the SIEM setup recommendation, which is the topic of today. This is where we provide recommendations of Microsoft Sentinel detections that have been mapped from your current SIEM, and we also provide recommendations of the data connectors to enable. So now that we've talked about SOC optimization, what is the SIEM, the Sentinel, the Microsoft Sentinel migration experience? This tool is now publicly available. It's in public preview, meaning all of you customers and partners can go ahead and start migration. And it addresses the challenges faced in the initial 3 phases of your migration journey. The first is the discovery and planning phase. In this phase, the Sentinel migration experience will discover the origin SIEM detections and identify the source detections and the data sources. And then it will provide an end-to-end guided UI-based experience where we map the detections into the Microsoft Sentinel solutions, out-of-box solutions as recommendation cards, which you're then able to track with status that either it's in progress or you've finished the processing the recommendation card. Then we have the detection. In the detections phase, the Microsoft Sentinel migration tool will map your source detections to Microsoft Sentinel out-of-box detections, and then you'll be able to quickly enable that detection or customize it to fit your use case. Finally, the tool will also recommend data sources that need to be enabled to enable the detections that have been recommended. This will allow you to see if the data connectors already exist, if you're an existing Microsoft Sentinel customer, or the data connectors that you then need to enable. In the end, this provides the end-to-end migration experience and dramatically reduces your migration timelines. What do we support right now? So we support 2 origin SIEMs, Splunk, which was supported, and finally, we also support QRadar, which is as of January this year. Yes. So let's go through a migration flow of how the SIEM migration tool works. To start, you need to upload a migration export from your source SIEM. In this case, it could be Splunk or QRadar, and then we analyze these source detections and map, and we're able to identify the number of detection rules, and also we're able to map the data sources from your origin SIEM. Then we analyze the migration, the data, your origin SIEM detections, and we map this and provide recommendations. This allows you to map, this allows you to track your migration. We are able to see the number of detections that have been mapped, which ones have not been matched, and we allow you to download a CSV report for detailed analysis offline. Then you're able to, once the migration job is completed, we map this your origin SIEM into Microsoft Sentinel use cases that are based out of the Microsoft Sentinel solutions. These are represented as recommendation cards, and for each recommendation card, you're able to track your migration journey by marking it as either in progress, completed, or if you choose not to enable or to proceed with that migration recommendation, you can dismiss it. We provide the recommended detections as part of the end-to-end migration experience, and we also give you the source SIEM detection if it could be your Splunk rules or your QRadar rules, and then we map them to the recommended out-of-box Microsoft Sentinel detection. We give you the option to quickly enable it, or you can choose to edit it and customize the detection use as per your use case. We also, part of the migration experience UI is we give you the option to look at the origin SIEM, your origin SIEM detection rule, and the recommended Sentinel detection rule. You can compare the two. You can see this is the SPL in Splunk and the KQL in Sentinel. You can then use this to customize it to fit your scenario. Then you're able to see the connectors that are required to be enabled. And that by enabling, I mean that need to be installed and configured in Microsoft Sentinel so that you can enable the recommended detections. The connector status is shown. It could be connected if this could be an existing Microsoft Sentinel SIEM workspace, or it would show as disconnected if you've not installed that and configured that data connector. Finally, as I mentioned, the Microsoft Sentinel migration experience is part of the SOC optimization feature. This means that your the migration jobs will be part of the SOC optimization, where you also get the rest of the recommendation based on threat, risk, or even similar customers or similar organization. So you will constantly have these recommendations provided for you. So this gives a high level of overview of the migration flow. We'll go into details into the demo session, but I'd like to summarize how this simplifies or cuts the migration timeline. To begin with, the migration experience is able to analyze your source SIEM detections, map this to Sentinel out-of-box detections and the required data connectors. This allows you to quickly leverage Microsoft Sentinel detections so that you start to get value out of your SIEM deployment. Then you're able to modernize or transform your SOC because the recommended detections are aligned with the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and we also use the advanced correlation in your SIEM in the Microsoft Sentinel so that we constantly provide correlations and alerts and correlate them. Part of this migration is the Microsoft Cloud Accelerate program, and this will get more details about it, but you'll be able to get expert hands-on support throughout your migration journey. All you need is to be nominated as an eligible customer. So what have some of our customers said based on their interaction with the SIEM migration experience? This customer said that the tool does not just do a translation of rules. It was able to preserve the intent behind their detections and suggested better Sentinel detections than they had initially come up with. This customer was very clear that what stood out is the actionable guidance and clear next steps, which was very good to understand which are the relevant detections to start with, and this reduced the overall migration timelines. This customer found it that the migration experience gave them a practical, decisive process, and they were able to quickly prioritize which detections to start with, and thus being able to optimize on their ingestion costs. At this point, we'll go into the demo, and I will hand it over to Yossi to take us through the demo.
Thank you, Margaret. Let me take a moment to share my screen, and thank you for the great overview. Hi, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks again for joining us. My name is Yossi. I'm a product manager in Microsoft Sentinel, and I own the Sentinel migration experience. I might have talked with some of you months ago when we just built a vision of what is it that we want to do and provide our customers to help them migrate to Sentinel. And your inputs were very valuable, and we tried to take as much of them and put them in this experience. So in the next 20 minutes, I will guide you around the experience as it is today. Remember, we are in public preview, so things might change, enhancements are coming soon. So that's just the first public version, and stay tuned for more capabilities in the future. Okay, so how do you start? So you start by going to security.microsoft.com. That's the Microsoft Defender homepage, and you go to SOC optimization. As Margaret said, SOC optimization, that's the place where we added the migration experience to. And SOC optimization is much more than just a SIEM migration. It actually started with the capabilities that Margaret mentioned around helping customers to optimize the cost of their SIEM, around helping customers to create better coverage and improve their coverage against multiple threats, and also help customers learn from what other customers are doing. But today we're not focusing on those capabilities. We're also focusing on the capability of migrating to a new SIEM in the SOC optimization page in Defender portal. So you start by pressing set up your new SIEM. In my case, it's right here in the top right corner, but that's because my workspace or my tenant is already full with recommendations, and they already ran a SIEM migration recommendation process. For you, if you will be like a new customer, a vanilla customer, you will see a big button here in the middle of the screen telling you to press it and set up your new SIEM. But let's say I press it and I go to set up my new SIEM, and we will provide you a choice between two options. First option is migrate from your current SIEM, either Splunk or QRadar. The other option, which is coming soon, we're still working on, is starting from scratch. So if you are migrating from another SIEM that we do not support, or for any reason you don't want to share an export from your current SIEM, you will go through a process of some questions and answers and discovery where we will try to learn about your current SOC and SIEM, and based on that, we'll give you the recommendation and not based on the export. However, let's go back to the current capability, which is migrating for your current SIEM, and please note the prerequisites. So we are using a lot of AI capabilities as a part of this new experience. So in the background, there is an agent, a copilot agent, a security copilot agent that runs in the background and analyzes the exports that you will see how you upload here. And based on that, creates the recommendations on what you need to enable. That means that enabling security copilot on the tenant is a prerequisite. You have to also have the right permissions to run an agent on the tenant. However, a very important note, the SIEM migration experience does not consume or burn any SUs, which means it's free to use. We do not want to charge customers on this service. We want to encourage you to move to Sentinel and adopt Sentinel and get the value, as much value as you can from Sentinel. So it's not something that we charge SUs, the security copilot consumption units. Important to know. Okay, so let's choose migrate from your current SIEM, and then the first thing you see is the choice between QRadar and Splunk. So for each of them, we provide instructions on how to export or how to upload the configuration data from Splunk or from QRadar. In Splunk, it's very simple. You just use this query in the search and reporting app on Splunk and create you export the query results to a JSON file and upload it here. In QRadar, it's a bit different. You have to use the use case explorer UI in QRadar. This link here will provide you details on how to use it, and there are some guidelines on which checkbox you should check so we get the right data that we need in order to build the right recommendations. Luckily, I have a demo file here of an export. Let's use it. So, let's hit next. And the first thing we do is just a very quick analysis of the export that you uploaded. This is still not the recommendations on what to do with those detections and to which Sentinel detections to migrate them to. It's more of making sure that you uploaded the right file. We show you the number of files of detection rules that we found in the file that you uploaded, and then we'll just give you some explanation on what we're going to do next. If at this stage you think that that's a wrong file, you can easily replace the file with the right one, or just continue with this one. Hitting next, we'll just ask you to which workspace, which Sentinel workspace you are setting up. The recommendations will be built to fit that exact workspace. In our case, in this demo environment, you have only one workspace, so not a lot of choice here. And once you chose the workspace, you'll hit next, and we'll actually hit start analyzing. In my case, as you see, I get a note that starting a new migration will delete the current SIEM setup recommendations. We can only run one set of migration recommendations at a time. If you run another time, you delete the old ones. The idea here is that you'll probably move from one instance of Splunk or QRadar to one Sentinel workspace. I know that some customers are talking about consolidating and integrating multiple instances to a single workspace. That's an upcoming feature that we'll work on and we'll update when it's available. I won't hit the start analyzing button here because that will take some time. I do have the results of the analysis that I've done before this demo to prepare. So I'll cancel it for now, but you will need to hit start analyzing. The process can take a few hours to complete. And the way to track the completion of the process, and in general, the next thing you should do is to go to this SIEM setup analysis status side panel. And that, based on the right Sentinel workspace that you will select, show you details about the migration job that we just created. In this case, as you see, we have here 3 green check marks. That means that the creation of the migration recommendations is done. You will not see any other recommendations popping up in the next couple of hours or at all. And then if you look below that, you'll have a pie chart that shows what we managed to do with those origin detections that you uploaded from QRadar. So we uploaded a total of 855 detections. Out of them, we matched 2 Sentinel out-of-the-box templates, analytics templates, 739 of those origin detections. 71 of those origin detections were not applicable to Sentinel. Those are detections that maybe are detecting issues with the QRadar server, for example. In Sentinel, as it is a SaaS solution, we don't need to run detections on the Sentinel server, right? There is no Sentinel server, etc. Some of the detections here are showing as not matched, right? So not for all of the detections that you will upload from QRadar, we will have out-of-the-box solutions or out-of-the-box templates in Sentinel, and we want to make sure that you are aware of that and you know to do something with those detections. In cases where you see here not matched, that can mean one of 2 things. Either Sentinel does not have an out-of-the-box capability to cover this detection, this origin detection from QRadar or Splunk, and then it will make sense for you to build something custom or use a partner to help you do that, or use our factory and so on. In the other case is that, well, maybe our AI model didn't work so well eventually, and there is actually a Sentinel out-of-the-box detection available that is relevant, but the model failed to find the similarity between what you uploaded and what we have out of the box. Here, you can try and find the match yourself. We also have here a category that is mainly for the preview phase. It's called possible future match. That is a category of origin detections that we managed to actually classify them into what is their essence, but we don't have a recommendation for you on what to do with them. So in GA timeframe, those will actually change to be either matched or not matched. Okay, so in this case, we see that we had 94.7% of matches, which is a great number. Think what would happen if you will need to go manually one by one over 855 origin detections and find the right detection in Sentinel to cover them and enable them. Usually, we don't see such high numbers in previews. The more regular numbers will be around 70, 80% of coverage, which again saves you 70 to 80% of the time of just analyzing your current detections and finding the right match. Before I close this, I also want to talk about the CSV report. I already downloaded it, and you can actually download a CSV report that shows you more of clear, text-based information about everything the migration agent did. Right. So this CSV, I just saved it as Excel, has 800 something lines, one for each detection, and you can easily filter it by the migration result, right? If it's matched, not applicable, not matched, or principal referred to match. In the cases where the result was a match, you will see the source detection name and description and query and so on from Curator, of course, and we'll also see the target Sentinel out of the box analytics template that we recommend you to enable. If you go to the not applicable, you will actually see the reason, not applicable reason, of those detections that we decided that they're not applicable and they're not relevant to actually migrate them or transition them to Sentinel, right? So for this case, there's a detection that is not creating alerts, and today those kinds of detections are out of scope for the SIEM migration tool. And there are some other examples of detections that are more focused on the health of the origin SIEM server and so on. Of course, not match and possible future match are also here. I don't want to go into the details, but basically this is a great tool for the SOC engineer to review all of the recommendations in one shot and understand, from high level what you need to do next. However, the main working tool, the main tool for you is not that Excel. What we want you to use are actually the migration recommendation cards that you see here in the SOC optimization view. So if I'll hit view all, I'll see that I have actually 89 SIEM setup recommendation cards. Now, those recommendation cards are actually grouping of the recommended detections based on the different Sentinel solutions in the Sentinel Content Hub. Right, so the Content Hub in Sentinel is where customers discover and download content, detections, data connectors, workbooks, etc. And what you want to do is to make this journey of migrating to Sentinel a bit easier by not just giving you a list of hundreds of detections and what was the origin, what you should enable. We wanted to actually group them by different solutions. So let's say climbing this mountain will be a bit easier and more gradual. Now, as Margaret said before, do we have some capabilities here in the migration cards to, let's say, track your progress and monitor it. Right, so let's say you choose one of those recommendation cards and you say, okay, let's start and you know what, I'll choose one that I like. What was it? The Amazon Web Services one. Okay, so let's choose this one. Let's say I'm a SOC engineer. I want to start and understand what I need to do around Amazon Web Services detections that I had in QRadar. So first, maybe I want to mark it as in progress. So maybe others will know that I'm on it. I mark it as in progress, and then I can go in the view details. When I open the view details, I get a simple side panel that basically tells me in a few words, why do you recommend those detections? Well, basically because you had detections in QRadar that were looking at Amazon Web Services and were trying to detect threats around those and what to do next. View full details. But before you view full details, you can also see how many detections, how many analytics templates we are going to actually cover for you in this recommendation, and how many data connectors are required for those detections. And another interesting thing is this MITRE ATT&CK detections coverage spider chart. That basically shows all of the MITRE ATT&CK tactics that are covered in the detections that we recommend you to enable. And then on top of them, you see the current situation. So how much are you protected against those tactics today, and how much you will be protected if you enable all of the recommendations, all of the detections that we recommend you to enable. If I go to view full details, that's where all of the action is happening, and that's where the SOC engineer will work on adopting the different recommendations or deciding not to adopt them and review them and so on. So I'll actually start from the detections part, and here what you'll see is a list. of all of the current detections, all of the origin detections that you uploaded from Splunk or QRadar that are relevant for Amazon Web Services, and the recommended Sentinel detections or analytics templates that we think you should enable. Right. And for each of them, we'll also see which MITRE tactics they cover. The target platform today is only Sentinel, but we're also going to recommend the use of Defender XDR and other Defender the detection, so that's coming soon. You see the detection status, if it's installed or not in use or enabled and so on. And also if the required connectors are there, are installed or not. In this case, you see that the required connector is the Amazon Web Services. It's not installed. And if I go to the connectors tab, I'll actually see that it's indeed disconnected. If I want to go ahead and connect it, I'll click Amazon Web Services, open connector page. That will lead me to open to that page, and I'll be able to enable it. Once I enable the connector, the connector status will be green, of course. And then in the detections, I'll see that the required connectors are 1 out of 1 connected and so on. And then I'll be able to actually enable it through this UI. I'll show you in a moment how you enable it directly from the UI in another solution. Meanwhile, let's have a quick look at this side panel that shows up when you click the recommended detection. So here you see all of the details of the Sentinel analytic template that we recommend you to enable. Name, description, query, all of the settings and so on. And if you click more actions, you can also compare it with the origin, which is important capability, right? So here you see the description and the query from the origin SIEM, and then the query that is in the detection template that we recommend you in Sentinel. And that's a place for you to validate this recommendation, this match, to say, okay, that's the right match, I like it, or I don't like it. If you like it, you can enable it. If you don't like it, but it's almost what you need, you can still enable it and then go ahead and edit it immediately after you do it. And you can also decide that you don't want to use it and so on. Now, I'll speak in a moment about the automatic detection enablement. But anyway, let's say you went through all of those detections and you said, okay, I enabled what I wanted. Those that I don't want to enable, I didn't enable. Then I can say, okay, it's complete. I hit complete, press yes here, go back to the last menu here, and then I will not see the Amazon Web Services recommendation anymore. I can find it if I really want, and if I change the status here to show also completed or dismissed. Now, I want to show you another solution, which the good thing about that solution is that the connector for most of the detections there is already enabled, and there I can also show you how you enable the detections directly from this UI. So that's a set of detections that are part of the Falcon Force, Falcon Friday Analytics solution in Sentinel Content Hub. There's a bunch of detections that we matched to a bunch of curated detections that we matched to the Sentinel out-of-the-box analytics templates that you see here in this list. And as you see, a lot of those detections, the required connector for them is actually Microsoft Defender XDR, and they are, and this connector is enabled. So that means that they can easily actually check the checkbox here for any of them. And you know what, actually, I'll not do it from there. I'll actually do it from here. I can press the enable detection button here, and hopefully it will be enabled without any errors. Yes, okay. And I just want to draw your attention that we took a process that takes sometimes very long minutes or even more and made it very short. We actually downloaded the detection from the Sentinel Content Hub. We downloaded the analytics template. We created an analytic rule out of the analytic template, and then we enabled it all in one click. So when you want to enable tens or hundreds of detections, that's a great way to speed up this this process. Once the detection is already enabled, you can also edit it quickly directly from here. You click the detection, you click the edit button, and that sends you to the detection edit wizard. So if this match is almost correct, you do want to change something, you can very quickly get to the editing view from here. And what else I want to show you? Okay, you can also compare template, but I want to show something else. If I choose another one here that I still didn't enable, if you are not a fan of using automatic enablement capabilities, you can also create it manually, right? Some customers say, okay, we don't want to use this automatic abilities. If you hit create manually, you will go to the analytic rule creation wizard, load in a moment, and you'll be able to complete the process yourself with less automation, really up to you. And the last thing here is actually the ability to do select all and just enable detections. Now, I know that a lot of you will be afraid of this capability. I heard from customer discussions that I had that this bulk enablement is not something that many customers will want to use. However, I think that once we build trust in terms of the value and the correctness and the accuracy of those recommendations, maybe you will want to adopt the approach of just enabling all of them at once. I'll take a risk and I click the button. I'm not sure that there will be no errors. If I'm going to enable 74 detections, there might be some errors, but let's see if it will work. Okay, while it enables the detections, the last thing I want to show you is just, if you go back to the SOC optimization screen, as Margaret said before, we want you to continue after you finish the migration, after you actually finish executing all of those recommendation cards. We want you to continue and also look at the other SOC optimization recommendations around cost optimization and around coverage improvement to constantly improve the way that your SIEM works. That's all for the demo. Sarah, the stage is yours. Talk about the Sentinel adoption factory.
Yes. I'm going to share my screen.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so thank you for the demo. I think this was amazing. And if you're now watching this and you think to yourself, wow, this looks amazing, I would love to get started. I have some very nice offer available. If you're eligible for it, that's the Cloud Accelerate Factory. And it's a jumpstart program that helps customers with a zero cost to customers deployment by Microsoft experts. So essentially, this is a zero-cost deployment assistance available to eligible customers that can get you started to deploy Microsoft Sentinel and to migrate from Splunk and QRadar to Sentinel. This also works in a joint delivery model together with your selected Azure partner, and can help you get started very quickly on Sentinel and also in line with industry best practices. So this is really an amazing offer to boost and get value out of Sentinel very, very quickly together with Microsoft experts. So you might have heard about the Cloud Accelerate Factory before. There are many different offers within the program, and the one specifically we're looking at right now is the security offer specific to Microsoft Sentinel. And what's involved in that program is, if you're a brand new customer and you have no Sentinel environment existing, the factory can help you spin up an out-of-the-box Microsoft Sentinel environment, from setting up your first log analytics workspace, some out-of-the-box data connectors and use cases, some standard playbooks, workbooks, and watch lists to get you started very quickly. Then the factory will help you with validating the data flow, that everything works properly, that the rules are working properly as well. And then the offer that we have specific to migrating customers from Splunk and QRadar is that what you have just seen in the demo, the factory will be able to partner with you. So the factory will run through the tool with you. They will check on the prerequisites. They will help you execute the scope that you've just seen. and they will help validate the rules with you, check that the data connector is working properly, so that you can really jumpstart your migration project. That works also in partnership with any partner that you currently already work with as part of this migration project. So if you have an existing partner, the factory will partner with your partner on the scope that I've just explained to you. And the partner will be, of course, able to help you end to end from your migration project and any modernization and customization that you want to do afterwards. So this is a great program that is available at no cost, no additional cost to customers. And this also runs in a very quick fashion. So the factory simply helps you with the prerequisites, finalizing the scope, the project will run, and then afterwards there's a validation and a sign-off process. So if you're a customer migrating from Splunk or Curator to Sentinel, this is a really nice journey that can happen as fast as you are able to run in terms of migrating you to Sentinel. So if you want to be participating in the program, simply reach out to your Microsoft account team or your Azure partner to request factory support. So either your Microsoft account team or your partner can request to get you into the program. Then you will confirm the project scope with your Microsoft account team or your Azure partner. Of course, make sure that you have a point of contact within your organization that will partner with the factory and then get nominated by them. The program works either over the shoulder, so the factory will guide you through the steps, or it can also work hands-on keyboard, depending on what you're comfortable with. You can ask the factory for the right level of support that you need for your organization. And with that, I hand it back to Yossi and Margaret for the closing remarks.
Yeah, if you can keep this slide on, Sarah, I'll just close it based on that. So what is our call to action for you today? So I don't know how many of you are already Sentinel customers, how many of you are using Sentinel side by side with another SIEM, and how many of you are not using Sentinel. However, the call to action is try to migrate to Microsoft Sentinel today. I think the mountain is not so high as some customers think it is with this new experience. So it really simplifies the experience, expedite it, makes it much more guided and clear. If you try to use the tool, it doesn't mean you have to migrate, right? You can just use it to see what will be the results on your current Splunk and Curator configuration, and understand what is it, how much effort it will take for you to migrate to Sentinel based on those recommendations, right? So to start using the tool, let's ensure that Microsoft Sentinel is enabled in the Microsoft Defender portal. Enable Security Copilot in your tenant. Remember, it does not consume SUs, so there are no costs associated. Navigate to stock optimization and click the Set up your new SIEM button. And then start by uploading the Splunk or Curator exports to the tool and see which recommendations it will provide you. There is a very comprehensive documentation available. The link is on the Q&A also. And there is also a blog post that was published last week with more details about how to use the tool and so on. And of course, if you want to also get the advantage of the Cloud Accelerate Factory, reach out to your Microsoft account team or Azure partner, as Sarah mentioned, and kick off the process. I think we're done with the content, and we'll be happy to answer any questions. Renee, will you moderate the questions for us?
Sure, I just asked that folks type their questions in the chat and I'll read them out loud. Somebody asked if they can get a copy of this deck. We will actually post the video to YouTube, aka.ms/security videos. So that is where you can get all the content. The next question I have, it is, what is the minimum requirement of seats or consumption to engage the factory? Can they assist with POCs?
Yes, I would say the best way is to check with your Microsoft account team or partner to see if you're eligible and get into the program. there typically is not a requirement in the project size. It's more whether you are an eligible customer or not.
Thank you. Feel free to type questions in the chat, everyone. We'll give it another minute. Okay. Well, you covered so much on this call that I think there aren't a lot of questions. I'll share that for anyone who has additional questions on this topic, you can raise them in the Microsoft Tech Community discussion space at aka.ms/Microsoft Sentinel Community. And questions can be answered by Microsoft employees and community members. And with that, thank you, Yossi, Margaret, and Sarah for being our guests today and for sharing the great information with our community. And thank you to all the folks on the call who helped with the questions that came through. And a reminder, if you have additional questions, please post them at aka.ms/Microsoft Sentinel Community. And to all the listeners still on the line, if you're someone who wishes to aid in the protection of the world from cyber threats and desire to have a say in shaping our strategies, blueprints, and recommendations, then we invite you to become part of our security community. Together, we can make a global impact. So join us at aka.ms/security community. This is also where you'll be notified about the upcoming webinars, events, and other announcements. Thank you all for being part of our community and for joining us on these webinars. We hope to see you next time. Goodbye.
Thank you. Goodbye.